And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Live Viviana live stream. And tonight's topic is how to switch to IT field from non-IT background. So thank you so much for finding some time this evening to join our live discussion. Please make sure to introduce yourselves in the comments. Let us know what you do and join our conversation with your comments and questions. So if you are new to my live streams, I'm Jana Martins and I'm a video confidence coach. And recently I started my new journey as an IT recruiter. So hence I've started a new YouTube channel dedicated to IT career in Australia. So tonight we are going to talk about how to switch to IT field from non-IT background. And Eugene is going to share his valuable insights and real life experience because he has actually transitioned from the law firm to IT consultancy. So as the world is changing, new opportunities are popping up. I'm sure there are a few of you who have been thinking like, yeah, what's next? Which career direction should I choose? It's incredibly relevant topic these days. Please tag or share with your friends who need to hear this. So before I'll pass it on to Eugene to introduce himself, I just want to quickly remind you that we are going live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So to watch replays, subscribe to my new YouTube channel, IT Career in Australia. And I'm going live every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Melbourne time with various experts from my network talking about all things around IT career, job search, and specifics of IT industry in Australia. So we're going to answer all your questions from all the platforms. Please make sure ask as many questions as you want. Stay on the topic, obviously. And the most active participants will also receive a nice surprise at the end of the stream. So again, please make sure introduce yourself in the comments and let us know where you're watching us from as well. So passing on to Eugene to introduce himself.
Thanks, Jana. Good evening, everyone, or a good day, depending on where you are. And we had some experience with Jana of doing live streams last year, and we had an audience from all over the world. So, yeah, I'm Eugene Fedorchenko. I'm actually like this experimental, kind of type of person who made it from. As Jana mentioned, the law background into IT field, and it actually sounded like I made it directly from law firm into IT field. It, like somebody just acquired my law firm, and that was my doom day, and I had to do something about it. But that wasn't the case. Well, I'll tell you more about it later. But yes, my background started back in the time in Europe as international public law and commercial law expert. So essentially, the first part of this sentence doesn't even really exist practically in the world right now because some things have drastically changed in international law. And then I've went through all the way through management consulting, project management, business development in different companies and startups across Europe and later on in Australia. At the moment, I'm a business development partner at Fastlane Solutions, which is IT consulting based from Sydney and now spreading its wings also in Melbourne and other places across Australia and APAC. And my personal motto, I've already kind of pitched it last year with Jana as well. Be the change you want to see in the world. So tonight we're talking about the change in career, in particular from non-IT into IT. And I'll tell you a little bit more about how I see what is IT field actually about. But yeah, my professional foundation is in a way how I start every day and how I interact with business, including IT business, is essentially based. The best quote I like about it now is by Simon Sinek, which basically says that money equals fuel. However, just as the purpose of a car is not to buy fuel, the purpose of a company is not to make money. The purpose of a company is to move. So yeah, probably depending on what's the structure, Jana, we can move on to to the next part of the of my presentation tonight. If
you even prepare a presentation. That's good to know.
It's still my legal background. I needed to prepare some documents and stuff to to go to the court or present something to the shareholders. So
when I saw your slide here, when it's saying partner at Fastline Solution, I thought it says 8D, and I thought, oh, 8D, that's advanced. I only know 3D and 4D.
What's that? 8D? What is that?
Where it says BD, like
BD. You mean
it looks like 8D.
Yeah,
that's actually, really, really advanced in IT. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens to people when they switch to IT field. Unexpected things. Totally. Immediately from 3D to 8D.
And I guess because you prepared some sort of presentation. let's just stick to it for first part of our live stream. So I guess my first question would be like where to start? Why are we talking about switching to IT field? Is IT field any different from any other field? So what's your thoughts about it?
Well, that's a very good question. It sounds really broad, IT field. I mean, I'll just keep it to the point how I see it. And from my experience, of course, all things IT, information technology, are essentially about tools, about toolkit to deliver any business value or any personal value, depending on who the customer is. So whenever I'm having those conversations to people around in the industry. You can meet different people. Some of them are experts in this particular technology, in particular, programming language or particular cloud environment or anything. And then some of them, they are more on the business side of things. But eventually, it all comes down to what are we trying to achieve with that, right? So, yes, we're living in a digital world. It's all digital-driven, data-driven at the moment. But let's look why we created it in the first place. So yeah, I'm trying to sort of navigate the whole IT field while understanding that it's all about driving business, driving individual efforts, optimize them, get better outcomes without breaking the bank, without breaking the process, and without breaking the people, which is incredibly important. So if you look at the right side of the slide, it's it's a typical examples. I wouldn't call it it's some ideal framework. There are so many frameworks out there at the moment, but it's all about how you operate, how your business operates, depending on whether it's small or big. And then IT tools or IT solutions are just designed and meant to deliver those outcomes. And by the way, there is recruitment out there, Yana. I mean, there are some processes which are automated and IT backed up at the moment, but it all comes down to human interaction. So we start with human, we start with physical. There might be tons of IT layers in between, but the outcome is also meant to be delivered to humans in the end of the day. So this is the way I see it. And even as managing partner of the company I'm engaged with at the moment, he says, good process and people beats technology. So this is where we stand from my point of view.
But at the end of the day, we can say that majority of companies now is IT companies. It's hard to get away from technology. Some companies that didn't use technology before will definitely implementing them now in the process. And especially last year with the COVID, a lot of companies will jump on some technology.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it that most of the companies are IT. Most of the companies are definitely using technology. Most of them, and essentially, let's not mess up what's the value proposition, what's the core competency of the company, as opposed to what are the tools the company is using to achieve its results. So we can now, for instance, one of the topics I've been discussing today is agriculture tech or agri-tech. So it's a new, essentially you take any industry, and I would be really interested to know about our audience, whether somebody is coming from agriculture industry or some other, very old-fashioned and long-term history industries. And now what happens, you just add word tech to that, and you think you're in IT. It doesn't mean you're in IT. You're essentially using some IT tools. You may have internal IT department which drives those things, or you outsource that, or you buy products from digital products to do that, to do things for you. But it doesn't mean you're IT company, right? It may be your tech-driven company. IT companies, even Fastlane solutions I'm working for, is essentially about expertise in IT, but not the products, or kind of this type of stuff. So it's very blurred line there.
Yeah, and I guess for the people who's listening us at the moment, so the question is, have you actually been thinking to transition to IT industry, or maybe you've done it? If anyone who's listening to us done it and transition from one industry to another, please put in the comments. Please put the example in the comments. We would love your input as well. So I guess the next question would be, obviously there is some technical skills people need to be in IT, IT field, but it's also other skills that can be transferred between all the industries. And what are those skills, Eugene? And I guess what maybe helped you in a way to transition as well?
Yeah, thanks, Yana. Probably that was on my next slide, if I recall it correctly. But if you look on the left side of the slide, it's all these big buzzwords we hear in every day. As I've said, tech, data, automation, development. For instance, like Fastlane is doing a lot of automation solutions, and there are companies which are specialized in data science and basically eliciting value out of data inputs. And then the start of the whole journey was with software development, coding, all of it. But you have plenty of those skills or solutions in the market. I mean, skills is probably a tricky one, especially in Australia at the moment. But you have plenty of solutions, and then they are meant to deliver some sort of outcome to organizations, right? And organizations consist of people. And then I've faced a lot of situations where you have a very great software product or digital solution or great set of data which can be used for some insights to make great strategy decisions. But if not explained in a right way, if there is no transparency between people in the room who are making decisions, if there is no trust, and if there is no art of persuasion and the ultimate target or goal or purpose, why is it even made for? Any ideal solution can face kind of decline or essentially become a technology debt for a company, or vice versa. I've seen very disputable value propositions in the market, while people who work for this company, they create amazing atmosphere around them, and they connect with other companies, and they create this business ecosystem around them, and they have customers, they have partners, and people buy this stuff just because they like people who sort of work with it. And of course they can give a reasonable feedback, you need to improve this or that, but this is essentially about this right part of the slide. This is where the human interaction happens, and the ideal world is when we have both balanced. But especially after COVID, and I mean it's not over, at least in Melbourne, I think we shifted too much to the left side, and those skills. And this is what's by the way, this was happening to my first profession, lawyers. It was incredibly popular in 90s. And there were a lot of lawyers and economists and macroeconomist specialists in the market. And they all have to adapt the technology change right now in one way or another. And, there are even those rec tech, legal tech companies. including with the one I started with my career. And yeah, it's all about this balance. And now I think we're heading towards some unbalanced kind of approach to applying technology and IT just everywhere. So it starts to drive business, not vice versa, you know. And decision making, of course, it all comes down to if you drive business, if you drive your product or service to the market or interact with stakeholders, you really need to be very sharp on how you make decisions. And we hear a lot about data analytics and using technology to predict, to analyze, to help you out with decisions. Yeah, it can help, it can complement, it can be really helpful, and very much depends on the quality of data and the quality of process there. But who is the entity making up those decisions ultimately? It's the human being. And because of heavy reliance on technology, we're observing a huge decline in the capability of humans to actually make decisions, even basic everyday decisions. Analysis paralysis.
I can't help to share my favorite slide here. I think we've been talking about decision-making processes before, and that's what I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I remember it from last year. It was one of our joint Fast Lane Yana type of live streams.
But
it's still there,
picture.
Yana. We haven't evolved much since then, to be honest.
And I guess the moral of this slide is work on your decision-making skills.
Absolutely.
You don't want to run an organization in this state of mind.
I'm just thinking that the audience is just wondering, like, whether this guy has actually transitioned to IT field the way he talks about the whole technology and software and stuff. Don't get me wrong. It's all great and it's all good. It's really helpful, but it actually requires humans to be more insightful, resilient, flexible, and adaptable. So it actually requires us not to be just relaxed because automation will do everything for us, but it actually means we need to change approach to our roles in the companies, because there is already a lot of work done by some automated solutions in banks or in law firms, including in government. But then all this sort of pipeline of results comes back to you, and you need to really look at it helicopter view and make your decisions and implement them, right, through people and through technology. This is where it becomes challenging, and this is where it's not only about hands-on skills, it's about a higher level of skills, I would rather say, right? And we really need to sort of approach it with ongoing learning, lifetime learning exercise.
And I guess the other question would be, and I guess a lot of people who thinking maybe about switching to IT field would be wondering, like, what sort of positions they can look for then they don't have any direct experience in IT.
Yeah, that's a great question, Yana, and there are some kind of examples of those. Most of them you're seeing on the slide here. I'm facing this type of conversations every week, essentially. The second one, sales, business development, is sort of my example. I'll tell you a little bit more about my journey later. But for instance, the first one, people like customer success managers, or partnership managers, or product owners, or change management. They are all I'm hearing those conversations from a lot from product companies who have those big SaaS offerings, big platforms, and Atlassians of the world and Googles of the world. They really need those people who would connect the whole big infrastructure of their offering suite with the real world of other people in other companies who are their B2B clients or B2C clients. And this is a very important layer, which serves as a point of contact both for sales and essentially delivering value to the customer, and on the other end, having the feedback from the market to make those products, digital products, or IT-based products more reasonable and more successful. So it's really about a suite of skill set, and things like business development. It's very broad. When I was making my decision 5-6 years ago about transitioning from law to to IT field, I was thinking what is the most suitable one, and I thought business development. And when I read on the internet what is business development, it was so broad, and it actually becomes a discussion internally in the company, whatever company you work for. What is your functionality within business development? What is business development? Is it just sales KPIs in terms of revenue per quarter, or is it partnerships you've created which bring secondary value or additional value? So it's very much again about this human project management, communication skills. It's a lot about that. And others
and also it's about your existing network as well. So if you've been in a particular industry for a while, and maybe now you're thinking about switching to a different industry, but you already have your strong connections and network within this industry, that could be quite a smooth transition to going to like a BDM role for maybe like a software company that sells products for this industry, and you already have all your connections and pretty much what you need to learn the product.
Absolutely, that was.
And Eugene just disappear. I hope that it's always great, and you have this technical errors. So while we're waiting for Eugene to connect again, I will be just, I guess, keep talking as I do. And obviously not gonna overtake Eugene's slides. Oh, here we go. He's back. That was quick.
Yeah, that was, you see, we haven't lost human connection, but we lost technology connection. I don't know what happened, to be honest. It just dropped me off. So yeah,
you haven't transitioned to
that
to
was
IT
the transition
fully.
point. Actually, I was about to say about BDM in particular industry where you have background and network, like you mentioned, and that was partially my case because one of the reasons I was hired for my role at Fastlane Solutions was my legal background, and this particular company works a lot with reg tech and legal tech solutions or compliance solutions, which are very much regulatory driven. So that's a very good point, Yana. Yeah, absolutely, that helps. And and roles like HR, people and culture, and strategy and go-to-market, they're essentially, HR and people and culture. They enable all things people, which I've already talked a lot about, and things like go-to-market and or product strategy or service strategy. Whatever unique code or engine you've created out there, if you don't have a strategy how to release it to the market and keep it out there evolving and being able to sustain competition, you're doomed to failure if you don't have that. So that's I mean, people who work there, they don't necessarily are deep in the inside of the code or matrix, right? They are actually understanding how markets and competition and clients operate to reach out to them in a proper way. So these are like examples of the roles you can really look into and consider what are the essential skill sets required there, and and if you feel like you're missing out on some specific knowledge of technology, most of the decent service-driven or product-driven companies are investing a lot into trainings and and certifications and upgrades of their human capital at the moment. So that's not a big deal. It's about your decision making. How do you feel? What are the strongest human skills you have to reach out and try?
Michael is asking, how did you learn the skills needed to be in IT industry? Coding, managing, development, and did you actually do any courses?
Thanks a lot, Michael. This is a great question. Honestly, I haven't learned coding much, so my role doesn't require coding at all. I have reliable people in the company I can talk to about what's out there in the code, but other things like and again, if for instance we have Google as our partner, and the partnership which managing partner and myself have built over the legendary 2020 year. they propose a lot of trainings into the coding, into the data science, into the machine learning and other things. And it's up to you. It's your decision making to go out there if you really want. But you start with why. Why do you need that, right? Other things like managing development, I learned from my previous industry, because when I grew up I've gone through a school of 3 law firms, and I set up my own management consulting company back in Europe. So already around 4th or 5th year of my career in law, I essentially, most of my functionality was around managing people and processes and time and client expectations. And I wasn't really already deep into the paperwork on drafting, court submissions or contracts. I was doing more of a supervision role, and I was responsible for all of those like process, human, and time things. And I just learned it there without any IT. The best IT we used back then was Excel spreadsheets and emails. I didn't even know that email was working through cloud back then. So and development is another human skill. You've seen on one of the previous slides about trust, negotiations, communication, empathy. Things like, for instance, I'm considered to be delivering one of the BD functions, which is sales. And the most obvious mistake I'm seeing in sales, when you try to talk a lot about just your product or your service without actually trying to understand who are you talking to, what stands behind that person, what are the drivers or that organization. So yeah, to summarize, I've learned most of those skills in my previous role, in non-IT role, and I just evolve and adapt them to more of the technology and IT landscape I'm operating in right now.
And I guess that's one of the way to look at, because sometimes people, trying to get to IT industry, and they're studying with like coding bootcamp or something like this. But I guess probably, and I want to hear your opinion on it, but probably you start with like coding boot camps and these things if you just starting your career in general. So maybe when you're really early in your career and you start applying for the junior developer roles or BAs and so on. But when you already have maybe 10 or 20 years of career and you're switching to IT industry, you can probably look at analyze more your existing skills instead of picking up the coding course or doing bootcamp. Start with your existing skills and see where you can fit in the organization first. And nothing stops you if you want to get more technical later in a way, but it will be so much easier if you're already within the organization.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you, because you can go and learn all of those skills, and there are two sort of thoughts I have about it. One on one hand, why you need that. If you really need that, yeah, of course, go for it and learn. And there are plenty of even free courses and resources out there to start with. But then understand why. On the second hand, what is that you're bringing into the industry? Are you planning to be a hacker? I mean, I'm just joking, hacker of the code there. In most cases, no. In most cases, you need those hard skills to understand infrastructure or the way program language operates, or what is it bringing to the table. You can use other ways to sort of understand the necessary high level, or one level down, to actually do your function, which is not coding usually when you switch from other industry, right? And I have actually a very good example of the person in one of the cities of Australia who is now doing all of those courses like massively online, while having like more scientific and project management experience. And I'm just like watching. He's just posting every week on LinkedIn. I've finished this coding course, this AI ML course, this cloud course, and I'm just trying. And I was helping out this person to find the career path. And the question I have: what is it really he's pursuing? Because he's just doing, he's just trying to achieve volume, quantity, not quality. So quality comes with purpose, with what are you trying to achieve? Start there. If you see there is a gap, and I'm trying to reflect on myself every day, like maybe I need to do more cloud skills to understand how things operate. Sometimes it's covered by this expertise of my company, and I can reach out to people inside. Sometimes I need to do something around it that I've done last Google related course December last year, for instance. But you really need to be lean on those things.
I guess my question would be, did you notice maybe that people, because you're obviously dealing with the different organization and more technical people, but would people have more respect to you, like if you know technology deeper, or it's like, because, some people would be like, oh no, like Eugene don't know how this AWS works, or, he's no idea what's, Kubernetes we're using. We don't want to talk with him.
Well, it's getting hot in here, Yana. This is a great question. This is my favorite. Well, honestly, you can face some, I don't want to use some, so you can face some resistance from subject matter experts in technology, when, especially in my role, when you approach some organization to tell them about our value proposition, about our teams, about expertise, and about our track record, they take you down into the deep dive of technology and essence of it. And if you see that you are not at par with them, they can become really basically they will decline further communication with you. And on one hand, that demonstrates, from my perspective, it demonstrates the maturity of that organization. I mean, because the cases I'm talking about, for instance, this is, let's say, mining company. They're not mining crypto. They're mining gold. You know what I mean? IT is just a complementary function to their data and their processes. And when the decision making about how to make their cost spendings on IT or time savings on their IT better, they shouldn't be made just by IT person, just from the business perspective. But that's not my problem in that case. But I'm facing that pretty often, and I can relate, and I can tell that in these cases, I always have my colleagues from Fastlink who would have other side of the world covered, and I'll engage them to help me out. This is why you need, we're talking tonight about joining an organization or creating a business where you understand IT to a certain extent, but you deliver a function which is not necessarily IT, and which is my example, right? So yeah, but that's everywhere. I mean, you can be, if you're not subject matter expert in agriculture, but you know how to structure processes and communicate with people well, you can still work there, and you can meet someone who has been in the fields for ages, and he'll tell you, you don't know how to raise crops. I'm not going to talk to you. That's human nature again. We're coming to human biases. Once again, it's not about IT. It's about human nature. And it can be covered by your organization.
And also, I guess, even if you have technical background and like maybe more deeper understanding of technology, it might be different technology. And maybe a company that you're approaching using, again, different technology, or I don't know, different cloud or different software. And in this case, so in this case, you again, not the subject matter. So
yeah, absolutely. And we have cases where people who work with us or for us, they essentially request not to put them into a very tunneled and niche delivery or technology, so that they are not constrained in their future, because their mind is broader than this particular pipeline of technology, and they don't want to lose their competency and value in the market. This is on one hand. On another hand, there is such a big proliferation of different technologies and INT solutions that basically we have incredible amount of tech debt, as they call it, in enterprise clients. So they just started rolling out one thing, but they're already thinking how to get rid of it in 5 years, which means that if you learn this thing 100%, in 5 years you will become redundant unless you develop as a human being, as a professional, which means it's very tunneled. You really need to take a helicopter view on those things.
Definitely. So, and I guess again, as you said, it's industry transferable. So we're not talking only about IT industry. It's we can probably find examples like this in any industry. And Eugene, do you wanna actually tell us how everything you've been telling us about the human skills and different positions? How did you actually apply it during your journey?
Yeah, absolutely, Yana. Thanks for that. I mean, you just mentioned transferable skills. So yeah, this is like the fun slide I just put out. Frank Sinatra there saying I did it my way, because it means our audience tonight does not necessarily need to repeat this at home or do it the same way, or actually take it seriously on board, but it may give a realistic evidence of how things can work or not work in your life. And essentially, the whole pathway from the beginning of my career in 2007 in law up till now in IT consultancy is about transferring those skills as you go, right? So yes, I started in 2007 as a paralegal and then junior attorney at Baker McKenzie, which is a global law firm, and I started at their Ukrainian office back in the time. And then I transitioned to another law firm and another law firm, and there's been some part of my journey there. And as I mentioned tonight, I grew up from just doing the routine work, which is now already automated. So essentially, if I was still there, if I wasn't good enough, I would probably be redundant, because automation is already doing that for a job for law firms. And at some point of time, I started consulting companies on their go-to-market strategies to European Union countries or Switzerland, and I had some network. To your point, Yana, that it was this stage of life was about networking, because I was doing some legal projects across EU, Netherlands, Belgium, Switzerland, Lithuania, Russia. And then it all sort of evolved into some networking, and some of the people were started to reach out to me in terms of what is the best way to get to this market. And this is where it became more of a business advisory and management consulting, essentially where law was one of the aspects of decision making. There already, there was already an example of applying transferable skills, how you communicate with people, how you meet their expectations, especially timelines, especially process quality, and finding the right people for them on the ground, and all of that. After that, I took I'm just shortcutting the whole thing, because it can take another live stream to tell about it, but yeah. Essentially, from there, I started to get more of a startup clients, and this is the point where technology came in. So the startups I was involved in, I didn't list them out there because it could have been like a very long list, but the main industries were fintech, blockchain, cybersecurity, and some of them transitioned with me as I moved to Australia, on my way to actually transition from management consulting back then and legal background into IT field. And I thought, to your point again, Yana, that I thought, what are the gaps for me? I needed to cover some of those. And at that point of time, I thought that probably I need some sort of business education layer on top of my practical kind of transferable embedded skill set, to structure the way I think and to structure the way I interact with the market. So I moved to Australia, and I still was helping out several startups already internationally, including some legal advice on IP, and I was basically doing education and running some projects in 3 time zones sometimes. and and there was this picture about there should be memes about entrepreneurs and startups, because there were some success and failure stories apparently there, and which become your asset and your knowledge as well. I mean, even failures are sometimes even better than success at this point of life, because you take them in your pocket, and you apply them to recognize, to flag out when you see that something is not going right with your client or within internal operations of your company. And from there, yes, I had four options in the career path. Funny enough, they were all in Sydney, even though I'm now already back in Melbourne, but half of them were in the legal world. So I mean, two companies were legal tech or legal companies who wanted business development person with some understanding of technology. The other one was cybersecurity startup. So it's all my DNA, right? I went to law, cybersecurity, and all of these things. And the fourth one was essentially the broader consulting, dealing with a lot of clients who need who need help in IT. With Fastlane Solutions, the company I've been working for 2 years now, and I joined this company because I thought this is the combination of business advisory, IT, management, consulting, and then there were partners and clients in this regulatory or legal tech space, which is sort of my first part of professional life plus tech, right? And this was one of the hard skills elements which kind of made it. The other thing was essentially they were engaging me for business development, which required a lot of communication, a lot of reaching out, a lot of proactive attitude, which sort of can't be learned on Coursera, just on Coursera by whoever university, whatever university. It's just either gained or you can learn it, but you really need to practice to polish it.
Yeah, definitely. That's not a skill that you can just read about.
Yeah. Just take some tests on how to be a very nice person when talking to others.
Yes, you definitely only can improve your communication skills by communicating.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, which is a little bit tricky these days. For instance, I when I joined Fastlane, I was going into a lot of physical meetings in Sydney, in conferences, meetups, round tables, and then you know what happened. And then I moved to Melbourne, and I'm doing a lot of my functionality right now through online channels, which on a personal level sometimes is challenging. There is a lot of research about this sort of social isolation, not in when they say us to go to isolation, but when you feel like I need to go out and meet people, but it also need to make sense for the business you're working for, or for the business you're doing. So it's tricky time for people who are trying to be developing their human skills in the digital age. Pretty hard.
Michael, have another question. Can you recommend any sources apart of these live streams? Obviously, these live streams are the best, so everyone needs to subscribe to my live streams. But Eugene, can you recommend any sources you use to keep up with any IT technology or management concepts?
Well, I was a little bit joking about Coursera, of course. I mean, they are doing great courses, and I've been using, even though we are a partner for Google, I've been using their platform to understand some of the concepts. And I'm emphasizing that I didn't go with a deep dive just to compete with those guys Jana mentioned, who are subject matter experts, and they would probably not like a person like me. But that's not about that, not about IT or technology. Sources like Udemy, they're cheaper and they're easier to comprehend sometimes. That's probably two main sources I've been using. No rocket science on my end. I mean, sometimes people would advise to go to a specific source or website to look into something, but that might be very niche. Those guys, Coursera and Udemy, they're doing a great job at the moment to keep up with the pace of IT space and field.
But if you're talking about news and keeping up to date, do you follow any particular blog or website?
Well, I'm just following media like Wired or just people or companies I like on LinkedIn, and depending, if you're talking about high tech things like blockchain, I just know several kind of thought leaderships in the world. Just again through my background as I was going along this path with Frank Sinatra together. I captured several thought leadership. For instance, one of the guys who was former Deloitte associate, he decided to create a crypto startup 4 years ago, and I was advising him on legal things, and I got to know several people around him, and those people knew several people around them in Hong Kong, Australia, Europe, and States, and I may follow their personal blogs or websites. So it's like a multi-layered approach. Probably, Wired is a good resource, and that's that.
Is it wired.com?
Yeah, I think they're .com. I'm not sure, but they're writing pretty good. And then Medium, there are people who are thought leadership. They're writing great stuff there. You just Google it, and you can find a lot of interesting things. And don't forget not to perceive everything what's out there on the internet as universal source of truth. Keep training your cross-reference brain thinking type of thing. And this is where in my story, it comes from legal, because I was going to courts, and you never trust whatever source of information is coming there. You need to double check and cross check, and this is what the judge does. But don't go too far there, because it can be also tricky.
Don't be Eugene.
Don't be myself. Sometimes Jana mentions something.
Same as before this live stream, I advise Eugene not to simplify his sentences. Don't go with too many extra sentences in the sentence and put too many fancy words in it just because you can.
Yeah, this is a downside of your previous professional background. Absolutely spot on, Jana. And I was drafting like all of those complex contracts and memoranda and shareholder agreements and stuff. And then now, if I look at those things, I kind of like, how was I even involved there? It's so legalese and it's so complex. Why would you waste time on so many words, putting them out there? But I still have this downside on my end. Yeah, that's true. It's continuous improvement.
I must say, you improved from last year.
Oh, thanks.
It's been definitely,
I received
less complicated
from those. Yeah, I received several declines from those.
No, we lost Eugene on the most interesting moment. But anyway, guys, I don't know if Eugene pop up back or not. But while I have you here, just want to remind you that I'm going live every Wednesday at 5:30 with the different various experts from my network. And next Wednesday, we're going to talk with Sandeep. And we have quite a specific topic with Sandeep on the 23rd of June. We're going to talk about how to transition from technical role to agile leadership role. So as I mentioned, my live stream will be targeting more IT career in Australia and specifics of IT industry in Australia as well. So make sure to subscribe to my new YouTube channel, IT Career in Australia, and also obviously follow me up on LinkedIn as usual. So make sure to connect with me if you haven't and you're watching me on the YouTube. So make sure jump on my LinkedIn profile as well. And I'm going to announce more topics in the next few days. So we have a lot of speakers coming in every Wednesday from the different IT backgrounds and covering different topic about IT career. So still hoping that Eugene will come back, but doesn't look like that. So I'm just gonna also share with you Eugene details. So basically, oh, he's back. Look at that. Just before I was gonna wrap it out, he got back. Look,
and
he's like,
guys, my other device went down because of the battery. I know Yana doesn't like this one, but yeah, I needed to rejoin.
Yeah, I don't like this camera at the belly button situation, but anyway.
Yeah, apologize for that.
So just to obviously to summarize everything that you've been saying, we, you know, at the end of our live stream, we're trying to wrap the things up, and just pretty much I was saying people how they can connect with you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Yana. So I don't know if you already mentioned about giveaways, that the company I'm working with, Fastlane Solutions, is essentially IT consulting. And yeah, you know, if you think you're ready to actually start or try yourself in IT field, in not necessarily hard skills IT side of things, you know, feel free to drop your CV or to my email, to my corporate email. You've seen it on your screen. Or if you have doubts, or you'd like to, you know, take it further and probably reflect on yourself with my experience and you know, share some thinking, feel free to reach out my way on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's the best channel for anyone coming into new conversations with me. Yeah, and hopefully this was a fruitful evening for you, and you picked up something.
Thank you, Eugene. And just to wrap the things up, maybe just share with us your favorite. Yeah, I know you share one of your favorite quotes in the beginning, but I don't know, maybe you can repeat the same quote, but maybe share another quote, your favorite quote, and
just share something. Just tell us something.
Something for the last 30 seconds, so we finish on the positive.
You've been
note.
dropping out twice, and did you see it? It was happening when you mentioned about my legal career, or some downsides of it. Something happened.
It just
twice.
Dropped.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna share any quote because they've been there on the, you know, in the beginning, but you know what happened tonight. I dropped twice. I came back. I'm still with you. Just believe in yourself, be resilient, and be adaptable to change without changing your core.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Eugene, for your time tonight. And thank you, everyone, for joining us and watching us tonight. And I'll see you, as usual, next Wednesday at 5:30 p.m.
Thanks a lot, Yana. Thanks for your patience with my technology stuff. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you.